Hello and welcome to our latest CoatsCast, A Visible Difference, High-Vis Innovations for Workwear and Firefighting Gear, where we'll specifically look at signal Lucence. So just before we start today's session, I just have a few things to go through. So there will be a recording of this session, so don't worry if you miss anything. A recording will be sent to you after the session. You can submit questions at any time during the broadcast in your right-hand control question panel. We'll try and get to those questions at the end of the session. And you'll also notice in your control panel a couple of handouts for you to take away today around signal Lucence. So without further ado, I'd like to hand you over to the presenters today. So we have Jörg Jacobi, Global Trims Director at Coats, and Luc Evdemon, Sales Director at Viz Reflectives. So yeah, I'll pass over to Jörg now. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Amma. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining this session. Today, we are going to introduce Coats Signal Lucence, a very exciting innovation based on phosphorescent technology, which helps to improve visibility and safety of people. Most of you know phosphorescence under the name glow in the dark. My kids, for example, they have kind of glow in the dark stickers on their walls, and there are many other glow in the dark gadgets available in the market. Just forget what you know about these products. Coats Signal Lucence is completely different. It's a performance product, and during this session, you will see how Signal Lucence can help to protect not only people, but also dogs, which is a funny story. The technology, which is called VizLight DT, has been developed together with the company Viz Reflectives. And before I hand over to Luc, let me share some background on the partnership between Viz Reflectives and Coats. We came across this patent pending technology a few months ago, and we were quite excited when we saw its performance, which we believe would add a lot of value, in particular for high visibility workwear and PPE. Viz Reflectives is a small tech company with limited global sales and distribution capabilities. So we had a discussion about opportunities for a cooperation with Coats, and it was quite obvious that there are great synergies between Coats and Viz Reflectives. Together, we would be able to roll out this innovation globally by utilizing the existing Coats infrastructure, which will ensure best possible service and technical support for customers globally. And it will also help to keep costs limited, since there's no need to invest in additional warehouses or salespeople. That is all in place. In addition to that, there are opportunities for joint R&D, and you will see further innovation in the area of phosphorescence coming up very soon. So we decided to enter into a strategic alliance and to roll out the product globally. Our vision is really to establish the phosphorescent technology as a standard in the high visibility market, which will ultimately help to improve safety of people, right? So let's have a look at the short video, which demonstrates the additional layer of visibility Signal Lucence is able to give, in addition to retroreflectivity and fluorescence. That's quite exciting, isn't it? So let me hand over to Luc now, who will tell you more about this technology. Over to you, Luc.
Thanks, Jörg. I appreciate that. I really like that video because it was shot on an iPhone. Of course, other phones could be used, but there's no special photography, special effects, photoshopping. That's how the eye sees the product. And you can clearly see that both of those wearers are wearing completely compliant garments. but one you can see in a low light condition and one you can't see in a low light condition. And that really underpins what we're talking about today. And that's adding that extra layer of visibility in low light conditions. Now, you all touched upon the fact that phosphorescence isn't new. When I was first introduced to this technology, I did some research. It took me about 30 seconds on Google and found lots of phosphorescent products. I remember as a kid having a glow-in-the-dark mask and glow-in-the-dark putty. In industry, you can see next time you go into a cinema or you go into a theatre, you can see the exit signs, and they're using phosphorescent technology. So really, what makes it different? What makes Coats Signal Lucence different from the other technologies that are out there? Well, we've got 73 points on the patent that talk about many different things about our purity of the pigments used, the loading, the adhesive systems, the substrates that we apply. And what does that actually mean? It's talking about performance, really. So it glows very brightly. That's really important. There's no international standards for phosphorescence or glow-in-the-dark technology to apply onto workwear or PPE or clothing. The only international standard that we can find applies to safety signs. And so we tested ours for glow performance against the highest standard, which was category D of safety signs, and our product glowed twice as bright. Now that's interesting because on a safety sign, you can put an awful lot of pigment in. It doesn't have to bend, it doesn't have to stretch, it's in a flat state. But our product has to go onto things like clothing, so it has to be sewable, it has to be heat applied, it needs to perform as well. It's no good the technology going on a garment and it doesn't wash. So we've got domestic wash or industrial wash. A lot of the markets that we operate in also demand specific standards that we have to achieve, whether that be anti-static or flame retardant, etc. And this technology does that. We have a product that will suit most environments. So we're really using the very best aspects of this technology to enable it to be put into life-saving applications. Now the applications, we've just put a couple there, and this morning I actually ran through a few more. I'll just read them out to you, but the applications and the markets that we're operating in are really broad. So you have got railway, police officers, delivery drivers, firefighters, forestry, offshore safety, wildland firefighting, urban search and rescue, cycling, running, sportswear, utilities, construction, highways, mining, transport, security, petrochemical, breakdown recovery, fishing. It just goes on and on and on. But I think what's really interesting is not just the amount of markets that we can operate in, but also the applications within the market are also becoming broader. So let me just take you through a couple of examples. We supply railway workers. Now that kind of makes sense because railways, a lot of the infrastructure and maintenance work on the rail track and on the bridges, tunneling and the stations is done at night time. And that's because there's less trains traveling. So less trains traveling is less disruption to the network. So it has really good implications there for people working at night time and in railways. But one of the things that came back, we got a question from the people that were using the technology that thought it was great, and they were saying, we're losing our tools at night, can you help us? So that was interesting because if you're losing your tools at night time, that's got several implications. First of all, there's a direct cost implication. You've got to replace that tool. So there's a cost involved in that. There's a more indirect cost implication, which is, can I now do my job because I haven't got that tool? I have to go and get another one. Is it in the back of the van? Do I have to reorder another one? So there's indirect costs there. Do I have to postpone the job because I don't have the tool? But I think more interesting is the potential safety cost. Where has that tool been left? Is it on the rail track? Same with highways and construction, etc. Has it been left on the highways? So really we see the benefits there just in this application, really, for one, reducing cost, and two, improving safety. Similar in firefighting as well. We started off supplying rescue vests, and that's then morphed into structural firefighting, wildland firefighting. It's a very big market for us. but they have similar issues as well. And since that initial supply, we've now worked with fire brigades to introduce firefighting footwear. And we're also working on hosing systems so that in a firefighting situation, they can see where the hose is. When you think about firefighting, in a situation where every single second counts, how important is it for somebody being rescued to see that firefighter through the smoke and through the low light conditions? And this is where we think signal lucence really comes in. Okay. Can we have the next slide, please? Thank you. So international high-vis standards exist because it's safer to be seen. That wasn't always the case, but internationally it is recognised that if you're in brighter garments, that really adds to your safety. So you can see this enshrined globally in Canadian standards, CS standards, Australian AS, NZ standards, ANSI 107 in the USA, 2471 in Europe, but it wasn't always the case. I remember when I was a small child that I was at my friend's house and his father was a railway worker, and he came in from work one day. He'd been working on a shift and he was showing off his new jacket, and he was quite proud of his new jacket. Previously, British Rail used to just supply black garments. Some of you will know these. They used to be called donkey jackets. And what he was showing when he came into the room is that they'd attached some PVC, bright orange stripes there. So somebody in BR, British Rail, had realised that actually it's probably a good idea that our operatives are seen because they're working around moving machinery, etc. They didn't have to do that because there wasn't a standard that said they had to do that, but they recognised by increasing visibility would increase the safety of their workforce. So standards have evolved really since that time and have adopted new technologies all along the way. So if I talk about the UK experience, we could see it rising in the 1974 Health and Safety Work Act, and then the 1992 PPE regs. It became a British standard, 6629, and then with the work with Europe became 471, and then morphed into what it is today, the 2471 standard. So what has happened is, as the standards have changed, they've recognised new technologies, brighter fabrics, better performing retroreflective tapes, and have adopted in these standards to make themselves make workers safer. So safety is an evolving process, and what we believe is that our technology is the next part of that process, because all the standards today really only talk about two areas, and they talk about daytime conspicuity, that's the bright orange fabric you saw in the video, and nighttime, what they call nighttime, is the retroreflectivity of the tape, where you need to be in front of a moving car or truck or somebody with a torch to be able to see somebody. They don't address visibility in low light conditions, and this is where we think signal lucence really has a part to play in developing safety and becoming part of international standards as we move forward. Okay. We have the next slide. So sorry, we're now going to introduce you, show you a video. Awesome. Okay. Amar, if you can take us through the midpoint teaser.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for that, Luke. So we have a quick teaser for you now. Can you name a unique application for signal lucence? So if you simply state your answers in the chat panel on the right-hand side. Yeah, there's no right or wrong answers here. We're just keen to get your insights and thoughts on that. So I'll give you a couple of minutes now. Right, we have some good answers coming in here. We have one scuba diver. Yep, it can be used for that. Dog collars. Yep, that's another good suggestion there. And yes, someone's put here outdoor tents. Yes, it can be used for that as well. So some really good suggestions there. And we'll keep them to hand. And yeah, thanks a lot for your inputs there. So now I'd like to pass back to Luke to continue the rest of the session.
Thanks, Emma. I appreciate that. We still think of new ways to use the technology daily, and we've been working with this for years. So some interesting things there, definitely. So really, what underpins the product is the huge performance. Yeah, we do claim that a quick charging time in 5 minutes will give you 8 hours glow. We actually have independent certification that says you can see it after 46 hours, but really a nighttime shift is 8 hours, and that's what we talk about. But sometimes it's interesting to note 5 minutes isn't enough. If you look at, there's a Home Office report on response time for firefighters. It came out in 2019, and what that talked about is the amount of time that was needed for a firefighter to actually get to a firefighting situation. Now, some of the fabrics used in firefighting garments are susceptible to UV degradation. What does that mean? They don't like lighting because some of the fibers that they use do degrade over time if they're stored in light conditions. So they're often stored in dark lockers. So we looked at the average response time for a firefighter to actually wear their PPE, to don their PPE, and that was 1 minute 37 seconds. But we needed to ensure that this technology in 1 minute 37 seconds as they were getting dressed in the station was enough time to get them to the fire. And on average, they were getting to the fire within 7 minutes. Well, in 1 minute 37 seconds, the technology was still glowing for many hours after that. So that's really, really important. And that really underpins what we're talking about. It's extremely quick charge time and a long afterglow. And that's what makes it different from any other technology that's available on the market today. It's a lightweight solution. It's the only lit solution that is not using batteries and cables, etc., because they add weight to a garment. If we think about working in hot environments, that's very, very important. The biggest cause of injury to a firefighter is heat stress. So they really need as lightweight products as they possibly can that offer them breathability. And this is the best system on the market to provide them certainly the lightest weight solution. We've talked about it offers that third layer of visibility, and we think that's extremely important. And the technology, we've done accelerated testing. It will prove, it shows that it will continue to work for 20 years. So whatever item or product it goes on or article of clothing, it won't diminish the overall performance of that product. So that's where we think the technology also comes into bear. There's other benefits as well that I could list. There's many of them. It works well underwater, and we're doing some work with some military organizations for that. I think somebody talked about scuba clothing in the question. It works below 30 degrees C, so that's extremely important when you're working in cold environments. It doesn't crack, it doesn't break. The performance is still fantastic. It glows well. It's also Worktex approved, so there's no toxicological effects whatsoever. It can be worn next to the skin, and that's really important when we're talking about health and safety and effects of the product. Thank you. We have the next slide, please. Broad range of applications. It's not just for workwear, and as we're finding out, the more applications are coming through, if not daily, certainly weekly. We're into footwear, and that's a really big growing area for us, not just sportswear. It's important for firefighters to see where their feet are in a room where there might be a lot of smoke and rubble and difficult conditions, and workwear as well. Work footwear, we're supplying it into those marketplaces as well. And it literally lights the way forward and diminishes things like slips and trips and helps to prevent all of those. So it has some broad applications in footwear. Pets, great market for us. Originally started off because you don't want to lose your dog at night time when it's running in the park. But the knock-on effects of that, or markets it's taken us into, is also for police dogs, for example. It's important for a police dog when they're chasing somebody, for the handler to be able to get to that dog very quickly, and it might be at night time. It's important to get there quickly so there's less damage and injury to the person that the dog's detaining, and also less stress to the dog when the police officer gets there in a quicker time. Also great for urban search and rescue dogs. It might be a collapsed building, an earthquake. The dog will get to the person quicker through the smoke and through the dark, through the low light conditions than the handler could do. Again, in a situation where every second counts, how important is that? And that's huge. Outdoors, I mean, look, after a hard day at Glastonbury, you want to find your tent fast. There's lots of different applications for outdoor. You can go into outdoor sportswear, for canoes, losing your oar in the water, lots of different applications. Apparel, again, that's a big market for us. We're getting into sportswear, but also can be applied as an adhesive systems onto the bike. So not only just your clothing, but also your bike and what you're riding as well can be visible. So in a situation where visibility is important and increased visibility, it does increase safety. Wetsuits, yes, we're working on that with several operations, and a big area for us is also in child safety, prams, accessories, and the markets go on and on. We've also started supplying things like pool covers, so you don't fall in the pool at night, you can see where it is, lots of different applications. So if we can go on to the next slide, I can show you some of our current partners. We have many other partners, but showing some of you of these today that operate in lots of different marketplaces. What I can say is that we supply over 80,000 firefighters today. There's over 100,000 postal workers and delivery workers, and we're operating in lots and lots of different markets. So I suppose in conclusion, I think the thing you need to consider is this technology is available today. You don't have to have it. It's not written in any other standard, but you can choose to have it today. If visibility is important for safety, then increased visibility has to be about increased safety. So you can wait for standards to change, and we believe it will be part of the new standards when they come through, or you can make the decision that our customers and hundreds of thousands of workers have made today by making themselves safer today by using the technology. Thank you. So I'll pass you over to Amar.
Yeah, thank you for that, Luke and Jorg, for those great insights on the Signal Lucence technology. So I think now we just have some time for a few questions. So got a couple of questions coming in here. How can I order Coats Signal Lucence?
Okay, that's a good question, which I can take, Luke. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. So Signal Lucence is available through the Coats network globally. Coats has a presence in around 50 countries, so people can source our product wherever they need it, right? In addition, we are also providing technical service, which I think is important for this product. So if you have a particular application in mind, feel free to contact Coats, and we will provide support with regards to integration of Signal Lucence. Hope that answers the questions.
Perfect. Thanks a lot for that, Jorg. And I think this one's for you, Luke. Is Signal Lucence certified against PPE standards such as Euro norms?
Sure. If we look at Euro norms, in order for us to operate in any environment, it has to conform to the standards applicable. So for firefighting, we have to conform to EN 469. For general FR, EN 11612. For welding, EN 11611. Electric arc protective, EN 61842. Anti-static, EN 1149, and the list goes on. So we've got a broad range of products that we can provide for particular environments, and that's extremely important. And it's not just got to achieve the high vis standards or the FR standards. It's also got to be wearable. It's got to be washable, and that's what our product does, and that's where we're uniquely positioned in the market. So we have a product for the markets that we operate in. Yeah. Hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, no, thanks for that explanation, Luke. And I think we've just got one final question here. Is Signal Lucence just suitable for nighttime working?
Can I take that one, Jorg?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, we're finding out that, well, if you think about firefighters, you can see a picture there. They're not only firefighting at night time, they're going to smoke-filled buildings during the day, and often the electricity is not working, so there's no lights on there. So that has an application there. But we're seeing it more and more across lots of different environments. So, for example, on a bright sunny day, the train in a goods yard or the truck on an aggregates quarry site casts a large shadow. Same with a plane on an airport runway. And then if you've got operatives that are loading the luggage, they're going into the shaded environment. And what you'll see is what the technology does as it moves from a light environment and then goes into a low light environment, it starts to glow, starts to release its glow, and you can see the operatives more easily as they're moving around. So there's, working in tunnels, bridges, lots and lots of different applications. And the technology is intelligent in respect of it knows when it's bright enough that you can actually see somebody because it's in charge phase. If there's enough UV, it's charging. And when the UV, the sunlight disappears, it then starts to release, and that you can see that release, that energy release in the form of glow. So once it's on the product, the wearer doesn't have to think about it. There's no on or off switch. The technology works and keeps working each day, and it works as you go into light and dark environments. Hardly any environments work in the pitch black for 8 hours, even though the technology will work for 8 hours. They're usually working between areas of floodlighting and then out to dark areas and then back into floodlighting, etc. So the product's charging all of the time, and then it releases in the form of a glow when they walk into a low light environment. So the product's good to go as soon as it's on the garment and will last for 20 years. Hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, that's perfect. I mean, we just had one more question about the durability of the technology, and I think that 20-year statement is quite crucial in showing the durability side as well. It's got that sort of stamp of approval, hasn't it?
It is. Well, we use special pigments, and that's really down to really the formation of the technology. It's got to be about the glow performance. Yes, I've talked to you about how we've actually put that together into different systems, and it's got to work in different environments, but it's got to glow, and that glow has to be bright. I mean, it operates at 555 nanometers, the wavelength, in terms of the color. So that's actually the best light you can see. It's a bright green light, and it's the most visible, the most attractive to the human eye. So that's interesting to note that the color is the best possible color you can see to attract to the human eye in any light conditions.
Perfect. So I think that's all we've got time for today. So I want to thank Jorg and Luke for your great explanation on Lucent's technology. It was really exciting to learn more about that today. And I'd like to thank you all for your time as well, for participating and joining this CoatsCast today. And I look forward to seeing you again soon during our next CoatsCast. Thank you.
Keep safe, everybody.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.